Yesterday during the forum was that they were naming the top 5 women innovators on the continent. And I can tell you one thing, it's a really proud sight to see what some of the women on the continent are doing. I'd like to highlight the South African woman that was given this accolade during yesterday's ceremony, Niele Nkolise from IMED Tech Group. Now, she founded IMED Tech Group, a company that uses additive manufacturing to design breast and facial prosthesis for cancer and burn victims. The company only employs African women under the age of 30 with research backgrounds in mechanical engineering. And she got one of those accolades as being one of the top 5 innovators on the continent. So well done to her and all the other women on the continent that are doing such great work. Now, when it comes to promoting South Africa abroad, Brand SA is our biggest champion. Let's cross over to our reporter for SABC, Liabo Setho, who is in the Rwandan capital, Kigali. Today is the last day of the 26th World Economic Forum on Africa. And Liabo, I believe that you have got the CEO of Brand SA with you.
I have the man indeed with me, Leanne. Today, as you just said, is the last day. The curtain is drawing close. And of course, the issue of a brand and reputation is a very, very important one at conferences like this, because Brand SA is here with Team South Africa to sell South Africa and to ask for people to consider South Africa as an investment destination. So people, the way Africans and the world see Africa is very, very, very important. But there's one person that steers up all of that. And right now, I can tell you that his job is not a very easy one, considering the kind of challenges we have back home. But we'll find out what his plan is and how we are planning to woo African investors and woo international investors. Mr. Kingsley Makubela is the CEO of Brand South Africa. Good morning, Mr. Makubela. Thank you very much for your time. This must be a very, very difficult time for yourself to be selling South Africa under conditions such as these.
Well, the good thing about difficult times is that during difficult times you come up with new ways of doing business. This has been wonderful, I must say. Essentially, this is all about selling the reputation of the country in many respects, that we are a preferred investment destination, that we have the rule of law, we have systems that are in place. But one of the good lessons that we've learned here is that the Rwandese have taken a single approach to the question of ICT, and they spend their resources to do that, set up infrastructure, and they've won the battle so far. I think that's the lesson that we're taking back home with us.
Do you think that we were managed to encourage or give satisfaction to other people besides the Rwandese? You have the Zimbabweans here. You have, in fact, most of the world leaders, business leaders are here. Are we telling them the right message? When we left South Africa, the Deputy President has spoken that we are going to sell confidence when we get to the WEF. Were we able to do that?
You know, the irony of the situation at home and here is that a lot of people here have a lot of confidence in South Africa, the ability of the country to attract even foreign investment from us, the ability of the country to put systems in place, a lot of confidence here. Actually, speaking to people here and speaking to people at home, you tend to think they are operating from different planets. A lot of people who are here, of course, are from within the continent, heads of state who are here. Deputy President have been interacting with a lot of them, and they're all confident. They all have a lot of confidence in the ability of the country to pull out of all these economic challenges we are all facing. And they're looking for a leadership to provide some direction in terms of where the continent should move. They're looking for leadership in terms of what is our contribution in Agenda 2036. So they are 2063. So they are all good things that are coming up that they expect us to really contribute to.
Mr. Makubela, one thing I did notice while I was here was that the delegates here were far fewer than years before, and that we had far fewer South African companies who were in attendance. I know that some of the banks, I did not see some of their representation. Is this pointing to them losing interest in WEF, or would you perhaps say it's owing to economic conditions? Businesses are tightening their belts?
No, a lot of people who are here actually are people who are doing business in the continent from home, are people who are looking at doing new businesses in the continent, because here that's where you interact and network with a lot of captains of industry around the continent, a lot of political leaders around the continent. So people who are here are people with specific interests in the country, as opposed to Davos. If you go to Davos, you find people who have an interest in Europe, in the Americas, in Asia, but here is a specialized group that has a great deal of interest in the continent, investing in the continent and attracting investment from the continent. A lot of our banks, of course, as you know, Standard Bank and so on, they have a great deal of investment in the continent, and I think they have confidence in the continent. I mean, I was listening to Dangote speaking during one of the sessions here, that he's not going to invest his money anywhere, he'd invest his money in the continent. So there's a message that he's sending. And I think that's the cue that you see from South African companies too.
Let's take Davos next year, or in January, and the next WEF in Africa, which at this moment we do not know where it will be held. What kind of brand South Africa are we taking next year? What are we building on from now going forward?
You remember coming from Davos, the idea we've been selling is the resilience of our institutions, the resilience of the country to attract investment amidst all these challenges in the world, commodity prices and so on. So we're going to evaluate the impact of the message that we're sending, that we are resilient, we're able to attract investment. So that we're going to evaluate, and I think as we move to next WEF, there will be a new message that we're going to focus on. But this time around, we've been focusing on this. So we haven't made up a decision, and we'll look at the political leadership in terms of what message are we taking to Davos in January.
I witnessed how South African companies in particular, I had a chat with MTN, and I saw how well they're operating in Rwanda. It means that their condition is quite well. Do we have plans of wooing more of Rwandese companies to come and operate in South Africa for bilateral trade purposes?
No, you see, the investment is a two-way process. So far, we've been investing a lot in the continent. South Africa has been the second largest foreign direct investor in the continent. So there's a great deal of interest to attract investment from the continent. But we are also looking for markets for our products. We have a host of products that we have, but we're also looking at buying products from the continent. There's no need to do trade via a third party when people could source out this material, source out these goods directly from. So that's what we're looking for. Of course, we're looking for people to come and invest in the continent. Rwandese have a great deal of experience now with respect to ICT. Given the system they've set up here, I think we have a great deal to learn out of the Rwandese.
Mr. Kingsley Makhubela, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, and there you have it. It is the last day of the WEF Economic Forum, and Mr. Kingsley Makhubela, the CEO of Brand SA, says we have a great deal that we can take away from how the Rwandese do their digital transformation or their and technological things. They're quite advanced, more than most of African countries. So we will be coming to you again in the next hour to give you the latest from the World Economic Forum.
Yeah, well, thank you very, very much for that update and bringing us up to speed with exactly what's been going down there. I tell you, anyone who doubts having a conference in their country or city does it so much justice. I think just having Kigali as the host has revolutionized the way people think about that particular country and how far they've actually come. So good on them. And those lessons, I hope we bring them home and we implement them very, very quickly.